Hello, class. This is the last day of our introduction to the basic knowledge for the class. So far, we have defined what crafts is. It's art that's made for a purpose. We've talked about the physical qualities of craft, things like media, medium, technique, process, and craftsmanship. And we've talked about the contextual qualities of craft, like content and context. Today we're going to talk about relevance, which is how things connect to you. So you can see in the graphic here, you have the wide world of information about everything. And then the blue circle is your personal experience with the world. And where those things overlap, that's relevance. Okay? So we're going to talk about transference today. And that's figuring out how we know about the craft. Does it originate in our culture, or is it appropriated, assimilated, or fused? And this is a very, very important part right now. It's being emphasized in culture today about whether it is okay or not to do some things if they do not belong to your cultural group. What is a cultural group? It's the type of group that makes the craft. What's your corresponding cultural group? And experiences. What are the experiences that you've had that are associated with the stage of human development? What rituals, crafts, and traditions are associated with that stage in your culture? Just like when we talked about the birthday cake. Most of us have experienced that as a way of marking when we turn a year older. Other cultures have different ways of doing that. So an origin means that the craft originated within a culture. That culture developed it for a specific reason, or they have a very specific technique. For example, in the picture, you're looking at a piece of clay pottery. It's not just clay pottery. It's pottery by Marina Martinez from the Taos Pueblo, and it's made out of a specific type of clay. There are rituals associated with shaping the pot. It's burnished, rubbed with a stone so that some parts of it are shiny and some parts are not. And then it's fired in an outdoor dugout kiln in the ground in a very specific way. Their culture developed that style of pottery and that technique of making pottery. So this type belongs to the Taos Pueblo potters. Transference and appropriation. This is the hot topic. Appropriation is when you do something from another culture and you don't know what it means. You just adopt the practice. You don't know the context for it. The most common example of this is when you think about Easter. Okay? And Easter in the spring is associated with Christianity. It's a pretty serious holiday marking, the resurrection. And then somehow or another, it also includes eggs that are decorated and baskets and rabbits and chocolate and all of those things, as well as a very serious religious celebration. The eggs, baskets, chocolate, rabbits got appropriated into it from other customs and rituals and traditions and kind of fused together. Appropriation is also a hot topic in our culture right now because it's when somebody takes something from another culture. For instance, if I would be in here wearing a Native American headdress. A, I'm not Native American, so that doesn't belong to me. B, Native American headdresses have very special meanings and only can be worn by people of a certain rank and role. They're not for everybody. And so it is not okay for me to do that. Now, assimilation is a little bit different. It's gradual incorporation into a culture, and it retains content. So it keeps some meaning even though it changes over time. And our example that almost everybody's familiar with is Santa Claus. If we start back here on the left, Santa Claus was a real person, Nicholas of Myra in Turkey. He was Middle Eastern, and he was a businessman, a nobleman who became a saint and became Saint Nicholas. In order to become a saint, you have to perform 3 miracles and various acts of service or deeds in order to become wealthy enough to be canonized and made a saint. But you see, he's wearing here his bishop's clothing, the red and the white, and he's got the white hair and the beard. And he also had the very beginning association of gift giving with him then. And then, as we move up to Northern Europe, and he becomes associated with Christmas gift giving, he still is a bishop. He's wearing the special bishop hat, and he's carrying the special bishop hook, and he's wearing red and white. He's still got the beard and the hair, but he's changed from being Middle Eastern to being a white guy, and he's bringing around toys. And then, as we progress in time, and we jump over to America and how he was brought over by the Dutch, he has gotten a little bit shorter. He is more rustically dressed. He isn't dressed like a bishop anymore. This is after the Reformation. And so he is wearing more like a jacket and pants, regular kind of working clothes. They also lost their bright red and became kind of a more reddish brown. Still has the beard. Doesn't have the bishop's hat. That's kind of collapsed down into this hood. Then when you go to the 1800s and Nast's illustration, he's still got the white beard and mustache. He's wearing red jacket suit. He's gotten fat. He's taken up smoking and has lots of toys. And then when you get down here to the Coca-Cola Santa, you're starting to see the fellow that we recognize in the red and white suit with the big belt, and still kind of fat, though he's gotten thinner in recent years. Still pretty much a white guy with long white hair and beard. He has given up smoking, though, and has taken up drinking Coca-Cola. Okay, now fusion is when things blend together. They're just kind of smashed up together. For example, taco pizza. You have pizza, which is the crust with tomato sauce and cheese, but then taco stuff, the shell, the meat, the salsas, and the cheese is on top of the pizza. It's taco pizza. It's both things at one time. And we threw in some Elvis. So cultures is where we get the Elvis part. Cultures are collections of people with similarities. You can have big cultures. When I talk about culture, I'm talking about our current culture here in the United States of America, in our area. But you can have small cultures too, a subculture that are people that have multiple similarities. They can be heritage, location, belief systems, things of that nature. And we're going to look at those. So one subculture is geographical, and that is your physical location. Our physical location is Pender County, and specifically, we are in, or at least the art room is in Pender County, Heidi Trask High School, Rocky Point. Let's go up. State of North Carolina, United States of America. North American continent, Western Hemisphere, planet Earth, in the solar system, in the Milky Way galaxy, which is in the spiral arm of the Horsehead Nebula. And that is our big, long address. Okay? But your geographical location determines both a lot of the physical ways you live, the way your environment influences you, the materials you have at hand to make things, and how things originate. Down here where we are, there's not a whole lot of people that raise wool sheep and knit sweaters. Likewise, if you go to Idaho, you don't find a whole lot of people that make surfboards. Generational is age-based, and you have heard this a lot because they are calling you guys Zoomers. Millennials were the turn to the 2000s, and baby boomers are the 1950s, and then you had Generation X, and then the millennials and you Zoomers. The greatest generation was the generation that fought World War II. Occupational is your job, what you do for money. So, like in the picture here, you have a chef, you have doctors, you have a plumber, office people, whatever it is that you get paid for, that's your occupation. Or if you don't get money, you get economic worth. As a student, that's your job, because the more education you get, the more economically valuable you are, and the greater chance you have of earning money. Economic is money-based. So here you see an economic map of North Carolina. You can tell our county is in the darkest red, so it is below state average as of 2014, which was a while ago. But economic influences your cultural by both where you live, what you purchase, how you identify, what you do for fun. Educational is your education. And it can be how far along you are here in school. Are you a freshman or a sophomore, a junior, a senior? It can be your cohort. It could be your degrees. Do you have a high school degree, a bachelor's, a master's, a doctorate? And just so you know, the robes you wear at graduation they have codes to them. And as you graduate, what you wear gets more and more complicated. Here at high school, you have got your robe, your stole, which is the part that goes over, like around your neck, and your hat, your cap, and then you have cords, depending upon if you're in honors or if you're in FFA or whatever, and they have different colors. And then as you get higher and higher degrees, they start adding colors. You start having different kinds of hats. You have the great big hood that comes up all over your head and things like that. Nationality is your political citizenship. And race is a social construct that's based on appearance. It's a way that people have invented to sort people depending upon what they look like. Social is group-based. It's people that you do things with for fun or for a cause or whatever. In this case, these guys are Shriners, which is a group for adults, and you see them in parades. They drive the little cars in the parades, their little motorcycles, things like that. Social groups can be as informal as your specific group of friends, or they could be something that you would have here at school, like anime club or art club, things of that nature. The people that might be in a neighborhood baseball team. Vocational is skill-based. Vocations, you have to train for and serve an apprenticeship and then be certified. If you're down in the CTE classes, things like electrical trades and the culinary classes and the health sciences, as vocations, it's not just a matter of going to school. You also have to take tests and get your certification and usually do an apprenticeship with somebody, which means that you are doing on-the-job learning. Most of you will have at least one vocational certification by the time you leave high school, and that would be your driver's license. Because to have your driver's license, you have to, in our state, you have to take classes, you have to pass a test, you have to do driver's ed, which is like an apprenticeship. You are driving, but you're in the car with an experienced driver that's helping you. And then you finally get licensed to go forth. Avocational is interest-based. It's people who like the same thing. People who play Pokemon Go. People who make TikTok videos. Those are avocations. Gender is your biological sex or your identity. It can be your pronouns. Temporal is time-based. It's a group of people that are united by a specific point in time. The big one used to be 9/11 and the people that experienced that day. For your generation, right now, it is the people who experienced the lockdown and the pandemic. And you will be talking in years to come of, hey, remember the pandemic year? Well, this is where I was. Religious is belief-based. They're organized systems of belief. And you have both world religions, which are religions that have a lot of members and that are practiced all across the world on multiple continents. And then you have smaller religions that are indigenous religions, local to an area or a specific culture, things of that nature. Here symbolized are the world religions. You have Christianity, Islam, Hindu, Judaism, Taoism, and Buddhism, and Unitarian. Technology is technology-based. So the level of technology that is present and that you use. Long time ago, telephones looked like this. They were in your house. They had the braided cord. And you had to be there physically to use it. And then we had our very first cell phones. And now we have smartphones and computers and things of that. You are of the age where things like cell phones and computers have always existed ever since you were born. You've grown up with these things. People that are my age are the age where we started off with these telephones and now we're into the cell phones and computers. And then if you go on to people that are in their 90s and so, they remember when these were invented, but they weren't common. Heritage is tradition-based, and this can be family, this can be local, this can be from your ethnic group, where you have celebrations, things like this celebration in May, where you wear a specific garment and you do certain dances or have certain foods. So your assignment for today is you're going to write a description of yourself based on the subcultures that we just talked about. And you don't have to include all of them, just the ones that you want or that are important to you. And think about which subcultures do you identify the most with, and what other ones that I didn't talk about might be important to your identity. And subcultures can be things like preferences. Do you like McDonald's better than Taco Bell? Do you like horses better than cows? Do you like Fords better than Chevys? Trucks or motorcycles? Things like that. So I have an example here. And these are the subcultures that I've talked about. Again, you don't have to do all of these. And you're just talking about you. So this is my description of me. I am a white female. I use she, her pronouns. I am 57 years old. I live in a small town in southeastern North Carolina. In the summer, I live in the high desert area of northern New Mexico. Professionally, I am a high school art teacher and a working artist. I hold master's degrees and national certification. As a hobby and side job, I repair taxidermy. I'm a second-generation American. My grandparents were immigrants. They were Irish Cornish. They were Pave, which is travelers, and they came from Great Britain. I have 2 large dogs and a cat. I love all food except for Jell-O. I like most music, but prefer to listen to podcasts. And I've been using the internet since it was blue, which is back in the 1980s when it was first released to the public. Okay? So I've talked about where I'm from, how old I am, what gender I identify with, what I do for both my occupation, my job, and my hobby. I talk about my family and that, my heritage, my background. I talk about my pets, my food I like, the music I like. So basically, you can talk about anything you want to that shares a little bit about who you are. Okay? All right then. That's it. Thank you.